Be what you want me to be.
To do what you want me to do.
Do what you want me to do.
Say what you want me to say.
Say what you want me to say.
Because people without you go to hell.
People without you go to hell.
And Scott has been, sharing so much personal information. I'm like laying awake every Saturday night because I'm like, what is he going to share tomorrow that's personal? But first of all, I wanted to just say something too. A lot of you are probably thinking, why are you talking about money in church? Some of you, it makes you maybe really uncomfortable. You think it's too personal. Well, when you think about it, a lot of your life really involves money. You live in a house that you pay for with money. Everything, you go to the grocery store. I mean, money is a big part of our lives. So it would be we want to be relevant. So we want to talk about something that's important and, give you the tools that you need to be as successful as you can in your life. And not talking about money in church, I think then we're kind of being a little bit ignorant. And so we want to be, really talk about what matters. We want to talk about things that can help you. Because I believe that Jesus wants to set people free. I think to be a really efficient Christian and really experience what the Lord has for us, we need to be free. And that means also financially free. Because that could be such I think my microphone is a little bit, there we go maybe. I don't know. It cuts in and out it seems like. But Jesus talked about stuff that was relevant. And he talked about money a lot. I mean, he uses terminology that is not familiar with us, like talents. We think about, being talented, but he was referring to money. And the Bible, it's over 2,000 references in the Bible to money and how to manage your money. There is so much wisdom there. So we just want to help equip you so that you can be free in every area of your life, including finances. So I get the fun area to talk about. The buck starts here. Because the 2 weeks ago, we talked about how we don't serve money, we serve God. And then last week, we talked about paying off debt and the snowball effect. And then today, I get to talk about savings and investing, which is kind of maybe a little bit boring. But I do boring for a living, so hopefully I can lighten it up a little bit. My sister always says when I tell her what I do for a living, it's like, that just sounds so boring. So she wants to fall asleep as soon as I give her my title kind of thing. And a lot of you are checking out right now because you think saving is not for me. Investing is not for me. That's just for those wealthy people, the rich people. But I want to tell you it is not. It is for everybody, and I want to share some tips with you on how you also can be a saver and invest. I am by nature, like growing up, I'm kind of a saver. You would never know that today, but growing up, when you're a kid, money doesn't really mean anything. You put that in your piggy bank and you don't really care. Candy, though, is kind of wealth when you're little. And so if I would ever get candy, and if my brother went somewhere special, he'd bring back some special candy, I would never eat it, which I have lots of regrets now. I had this awesome candy that all ended up being thrown away. I would stash it in the back of my closet and save it for who knows what. But I would save it, so when I left for college, my mom cleaned out my closet and found a lot of old candy. And yeah, so, 20-year-old candy, you really should not eat that, and I didn't. But yeah, so I can get kind of, really into the saving thing. But then, as you grow up and you get money, there's always these things you want. But I can be really, as Scott has shared, I can be really anal about keeping track. If you don't keep track of your spending and your saving and stuff, it just goes out the window. You've got to have some goals, and you've got to kind of know what's happening and take control over it. So I will keep track of every little cent. So Scott cannot go to the coffee store or coffee shop without me knowing. I know it. I know it the day of, because I'll log in and I'll see all the spending. That's why he goes to plasma, so he can or he donates plasma, so he has money that I cannot see, So I'm like, how many times do you need to go to Starbucks? Really? But then I started going to Starbucks, and I'm a more expensive Starbucks shopper than he is, so he got it. But I actually have a section in our budget called coffee, because it's really important to him. But in Proverbs, chapter 6, verses 6 to 8, it says, "Go to the ant, you sluggard." I love that word, sluggard. Should start to use that more often. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. And further, in like Proverbs 21:20, it says, in the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all he has. So the ant, who's this little, is considered really smart, but a foolish man devours all he has. Some really interesting statistics I found was 55% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. We're one of the wealthiest countries in the world, and 55% of us live paycheck to paycheck, which really is foolish. And then just hear me out here. I'm not like belittling people that I know, there's single moms, there's people that work minimum wage and really are struggling to make ends meet. And trust me, I have all the sympathy in the world. We've been there. And that is very, very tough. So I'm not saying that is foolish, because sometimes that's just life. But a lot of us, that's really not the case. We just are out of control. We just don't think about it, and we just spend, and we don't. We could make a lot better choices, and not foolish choices. So what are some of the things we can save for? Emergencies is number one. Number two, purchases, not purses, purchases. And then the future. And so what's an emergency? New iPhone coming out?
Yes.
No. Scott thinks it is, and he has all the justifications in the world. But no, a new iPhone is not an emergency. Your plumbing going out, your furnace going out when it's 50 below, definitely an emergency. Your car breaking. And if you save, so you have money for that, it's not going to set you back for months. You don't have to put it on your credit card. Purchases, you can save for your couch, you can save for Christmas, save for a car. It would be so much smarter. So, when you save for purchases, it means you don't put it on your credit card and then pay it out later. Even if they promise you 0% interest, that is very easy that it will catch you at the end. I save for suitcases. Scott has told you guys that I love suitcases, and I got to qualify that. I almost brought the latest one I bought because it's really, really pretty. I store it even in the case because I don't want it to get scratches and stuff. But I travel a lot, so that's why I'm so weird. I'm weird. I mean, who buys suitcases and is in love with luggage? But I am, because I travel, so I want it all, a certain way. The future, if you have kids, you might want to consider saving for college. Unless, like in our case, Elizabeth just has to work really hard to get scholarships. But I mean, it would be wise to save for that. If she needs braces, you save for that. But I mean, one very important area is retirement, because you don't want to be 80 years old and eat cat food. So save for retirement. But why don't people save more? And a really big reason is we just don't know how to prioritize our dollars. We need to prioritize what is a need and what is a want. And to better illustrate it, there's a video that we found. But just that, it makes it so easy when you see it kind of like that. It's so simple. It is something everybody can do. I just know for us, if I don't put money into our savings account right away, at the first of the month, or have part of my paycheck go into my savings account, I will always find something to spend money on. So just out of mind, So it's very important to keep it in your mind and take control over it. So how, like with money, there's two ways of making money. It's people making money, and it's money. The thing is, if you're single, like if you're a single lady, marry, and you are thinking about marrying a guy with potential, marry a guy with a job. Don't look at the potential. Marry. I mean, it's a little different when you're in college and nobody has a job, but you really gotta, you gotta be a little smart in your choices. And I always joke about, because of my job, I get to see a lot of financial statements and credit scores and stuff. And I always joke, if Scott had met me now, our first date would be like, okay, where's your credit report? And let me take a look. Because, in a little tip, side note, your credit score is very important, especially if you're going to have a consumer loan, car loan. And the easiest way to screw up your credit score is if you pay your bills late. Do not pay your bills late. I mean, it is so easy to do, but it's so easy not to do, and that's how you can help your credit score a lot. But a lot of people, to get more money, to have fun money, or pay down debt, or have extra income, they might get a second job. In Scott's case, he does pracs, or has been doing pracs over the years, and donating plasma. He also had pracs. I can't bleed. I don't like poking, so I do not do pracs. I mean, I do not go there. Scott had them call me to tell me how it was not dangerous and how it was not, just a little bit of poking. And I asked him, do you have to like poke me at all? And the answer was yes. And I said, oh, okay, thank you. And I moved on. But I've been very creative in like the way I create extra money, because I don't really have time for a second job. So I will, like if I am really, really tempted to go to Starbucks and then I resist, I'll write the amount down. And then I save that. You know, I would have spent it anyway, but instead now it's become my saving. And at a time, and we didn't have much money at all, and I really wanted something nice over our couch. I wanted this big picture. I'd seen it in Minneapolis. It had a beautiful frame and this picture, but it was way too much money. It was just something that we didn't have, and we couldn't spend money on something like that because it would be frivolous, and there's more important things than picture or suitcase, whatever it may be. But I was creative, because Scott used to go, like he used to wear a lot of suits, so he would like take his shirts to the dry cleaner, and they charge like, I don't know, $2.50, $1, maybe $1.50. Well, I decided, like, and there were a lot of them, so it all adds up. So I decided that I bought some starch, and I started ironing his shirts, and I think I do a good job. He doesn't think I do as good of a job as the dry cleaners, but that's a matter of opinion. And then I would pay myself for each shirt, and I would pay myself a little extra because there was all this love going into it. So, so I did that, and then I worked a place where now when I think about it, that was actually pretty cheap. For $2.25, you could get a meal there for lunch. But instead of doing that, even though it was only $2.25, which is actually a lot cheaper than McDonald's, I would just bring a sandwich, and then I would write the amount down. And, you know, so that way, I got enough money to buy this picture. So you got to be creative sometimes. So like, you look at your sacrifices and you know, actually keep track of it. But then, making money. This is another area where Scott, when we met, I mean, he got really crazy about investing, because, you know, it's really smart. The younger you are, you know, start investing right away. So he was like, he was putting away a lot of money in his mutual funds. And I even said to our investor guy, you know, trying to convince, maybe it's, you know, there needs to be a limit on how much you invest. You can't like invest and then go into debt. You know, you got to have a balance there. So you got to kind of be, you know, think about it. But what we started doing is when you work somewhere, you know, typically you would get a raise, maybe once a year. If you get a 3% raise, that's the 3%, that money you don't really have. You're not used to having it. If you take 1% and put towards retirement, you're not going to miss it. You never had it in the first place. And you do that every single time you get a raise. I mean, all of a sudden you're doing, you know, 10%, 15% towards retirement. And it just, you know, it really adds up. And another thing, if you work somewhere and they have a 401k plan and they do matching, that is free money. Like if they match 3%, you got it. You just got to invest 3%, because you get 3% on top of that your employer gives you. So that's like free money, and it grows. The thing is, when Scott lost his job, he was putting stuff towards retirement, like his IRA or whatever, and he lost his job and he just started costing money. He didn't bring any money in, but he was very expensive to have around, and all these kids that needed pizza and all this stuff. So we stopped investing. We had to cut down on everything. We cut cable, we cut absolutely everything we could, including the investing. Like, he did not put anything into his IRA. But because he had already put stuff in there through that time, the money grew. And then we went through this financial crisis, and people like cashed out all their stuff, and somehow we were really lucky in our selections. We have a really good guy, and our money just grew. I mean, it just stayed the same. So it was almost like he would have been putting in money anyway. So, I mean, make the money work for you. especially through your employer. That is so easy, and if you just have it go out of your paycheck, and whenever you get a raise, you don't even know that it was there to begin with. So, and the Bible even talks about that. Matthew 25 has a parable in there about this landlord giving money to people, and then he was going to go away. And it says, the man who had received the 5 talents went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more. And then to give you a couple of rules, as far as if you are planning to invest and you maybe want to not just do your employer thing, maybe you want to do other stocks or whatever, do not invest in things you do not understand. I understand my savings account. That's a very safe vehicle for me. I understand mutual funds. When you get into options and crazy things and like weird companies that I don't understand and I have to rely on somebody else, or I don't have the time to research, don't put your money there. Proverbs 24 even says that. By wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. Back right after college, I didn't have any money to invest, but I worked for a guy that was investing in Lucent technology back in the 90s. Maybe you remember. That was the second widely held stock behind General Electric at the time. And he was like and he was talking about how much he was buying with Lucent. I just thought about that last night because I didn't know people that invested in that. If you would have bought $1,000 worth of Lucent stock in 1997, 98, it would be $13 today. $1,000 then, $13 today. If you would have bought $1,000 worth of Diet Coke and saved all the cans, you would have more money in soda cans. And you would have had all the pop and the caffeine that goes with it. So, there's a lot of people out there that gives good advice, and there's a lot of guys that are selling investments. They get a commission on what they sell you. So it is so important that you understand what you get into and that you find someone you can trust to get advice from, because it can get really complicated and you don't want to be taken advantage of. Sometimes the best investments can be the ones you don't make. Then, very familiar probably to everybody and all kinds of things, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You need to spread it around. Give portions to 7, yes to 8, for you do not know what disaster may come upon the land. In Ecclesiastes. And you have, just a couple of years ago, Enron. They put all their employer money into one bucket, and then it goes down. Dave Ramsey says it's kind of like manure. You have too much in one place, it stinks. If you spread it around, you make it grow. And then also, one thing I think is very important for Christians in talking about this is don't try to get rich quick. That's where you really need to check your heart. People who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge men into ruin and destruction. 1 Timothy 6:9. Sometimes the fastest way to double your money is to put it in your pocket. When your desire is to get rich quick, that's when you go to the casino. And I know a lot of people that go to the casinos. I have never met anybody that have gotten rich on going to the casinos. It usually costs money. That's why they're in business. That is not an investment. You want to be faithful and consistent. He who gathers money little by little makes it grow. And I just want to cover a couple more things, just examples, just to show you what it can do. Money and time and consistency equals wealth. If you have $5 a day, you cut your lunch, you cut your coffee, you somehow come up with $5 a day, and you invest at 12%, like over time, in 10 years you're going to have $34,000. In 40 years, if you're young, especially, 1.7 million. In 50 years, 5.8 million. And if you're 30 years old and you make average U.S. salary is $48,000, if you make that much and pretend you never ever get a raise, but you put 15% of that every month, it's about $600, in a 401k, like your employer's 401k at 12%, by the age of 70, when you retire, you will have over $7 million. And 12% sounds a little high, especially right now. Even if it was 6%, you're still rich. So take advantage, make money work for you. What you do with what you have reveals really what you believe. Jesus invested in people. He was probably not materially rich, like he didn't have mansions and all that, but he invested in what matters most. And I want to talk a little bit about that too. It's, if you have, sometimes money takes away so much like our concentration. That's why we want to talk about it. But if you invest in your marriage, you're going to have a good marriage. If you invest in your kids, they're going to visit you in a retirement home when you're retired. If you invest in people and friends, you're going to have people be loyal to you. The money that you have is not all for you. It's a gift from God. It's a blessing from God. And it should be used for His glory. I just want to encourage you, I just hope that everyone here can just be really blessed, financially blessed, really set free, and that this is something that can encourage you to take control of your finances and set you free so that you can do amazing things for God and also for yourself. I mean, I believe that the Lord wants to bless us. I don't think it's a promise that, oh, you become a Christian, now you're rich. He never promises that. But He wants you to be free and not in bondage by money or anything that can hinder the relationship with Him. Let's pray. Lord, I just ask that you will bless every single person in this room. Lord, I know that there are people in here that are struggling with their finances and just don't know how to make ends meet. But Lord, I just thank you that your word says that if we give to you first, that you are going to be the provider. You are going to provide, Lord. And I just thank you for that promise. And God, I just ask that you will give us wisdom. That's why we talk about these things. Lord, that we will just gain wisdom. And we can go to the Bible, we can go to your word, and we can gain wisdom in how to manage our lives and our finances, all the decisions we do. Lord, we pray that you will be the guide. And we just pray that whatever we have, that you will get the glory and that we can reach people for you. So at the end of the day, it's not how much money we had or how much, because we know we can't take it with us, Lord. But God, it is about how did we use our resources to reach people for you. Jesus, I just pray that that will be on the forefront of our minds.